Hello and welcome to the Wad Fam Chalk Pod. I'm Dylan Weaver.
And I'm Andrew Sabo.
And we're here this week because love is in the air.
That it is, and boy am I breathing in it. I'm taking a big ol' hit.
We're just sucking in that love the way Andrew sucks in vape.
Of various substances, in case you were wondering. Haven't tried DMT yet, though. I see you, young gravy.
I don't. But this is episode 335, Love is in the Air, part 1.
One of my favorite two-parters of Odyssey that exist. Dylan, do you have any strong historical connection to this episode?
I mean, for sure. Like, I listened to this one a bunch. It's in the rotation. It's real good. Like, I like it. We'll keep talking about it as we go, but yeah, it's formative Odyssey.
Okay, well, was it an album that you had?
No, but like you listen to the Blackguard and then it rolls right into this.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like it makes total sense. And
that's why we're covering it today.
Yeah, it's true. And so this is the episode immediately following Exit. Exit? No, wait. Is Exit's Novacom?
Yeah, Exit's Novacom. Endgame?
No.
The
final conflict.
The final conflict.
It's the final. Okay, it's the episode immediately following the final conflict. And yeah, the premise as outlined between like the official guide and the complete guide is basically like it had been really intense for a while in Odyssey, and we thought, what if we did something fun? And so we conceived of this episode, and I think they succeeded in creating something fun.
It's definitely fun. I would describe it as that. I have thoughts, and I can't wait to share them with you after we get through the context.
Yeah. I mean, there's not a whole lot of context here. It's actually. I need to check. I didn't actually bother to look at some of this stuff ahead of time because I just kind of assumed. Yeah, it's written and directed by Paul McCusker.
God, I love
I just about said that without actually verifying it in any way. But like,
it's not a Lawler episode. I knew that.
Yeah, like, look, we can all assume it's McCusker, right? That's how this works.
I mean, if I have strong affection for it, yeah, typically. And if there's questionable female writing, yeah, definitely.
To be fair, all of Odyssey is
yeah. Hey, except Kathy.
Yeah, no. In this era, I should have put the in this era caveat. We like Kathy Buchanan. We like Nathan. Who like there are people who seem to get it a little bit more than these old gentlemen. But there's no one cast-wise who we haven't already talked about because we're just kind of playing the hits as far as bringing everyone all together for this.
Oh, yeah. So the premise of this is a big important episode in the arc because Katrina is coming back to town and Tasha comes to town. So two love interests are in Odyssey all at the same time. And this episode is covering all the chaos that ensues.
Yeah, and this is the first appearance of Tasha since A Name Not a Number, which is like multiple years ago in the show's run at this point.
Yeah.
But we're obviously getting a lot of time compression here.
Did you get weak in the knees when she said hi?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
I forgot. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. No, she's great. I mean, we love Tasha.
God bless Tasha. I don't know. It's just
can't
something
believe
about the
they
softness
wasted
of it.
her on frickin' Rydell Revelations. You remember that, Andrew?
Oh, yeah. All they could have done.
Yeah.
Please tell me Hubler wasn't involved in any of that.
No, I think he gets out scot free.
Okay, fantastic.
But yeah, it's just it's so good to hear her here. But yeah, let's talk about the actual episode. I don't know. I don't feel like there's really anything to set up context wise. Like this is
other than the promo.
other than the promo.
Love is in the air on the next Adventure in Odyssey. Why is Eugene shaving his mustache? And why is Jason blushing? Because Katrina and Tasha are back in town, and our dashing dynamic duo plans to win back their ladies' hearts. But can Cupid's arrow find its mark twice? Find out next time on Adventures in Odyssey.
That promo could have kept going and I wouldn't have been upset. That was
It
fantastic.
really gets it. And you know what makes me even more happy, Andrew?
Huh.
We get a different promo next week, even though it's a two-parter.
Heck yeah. Tremendous news.
The best news. But yeah, what a that soft jazz, like,
Oh yeah, that's smooth jazz. That's Kenny G in an alleyway, dimly lit, just serenading you. Ugh. God bless the saxophone. What a tremendous instrument that I will probably never learn how to play.
I like that you gave yourself the probably.
Well, it's always been an instrument that I've wanted to play, like ever since elementary school.
Andrew, what instruments do you play?
Just the piano. Just the piano. Not well, but I do know the notes and such, and if you give me a long time to practice, I can play pieces of music.
Hey, you got me beat there.
Yeah. But no, I've tried to learn the guitar in the past, and it blows my mind. Couldn't be me. That being said, the saxophone seems like it makes more sense, and if I could use it to make music like this, boy, I think it'd be worth every penny.
Okay. Well, listen to that. Support us at our new, very expensive tier that is called Buy Andrew a Sax and Lessons.
Sax with Andrew. For $5 a month. You get a live stream of me just butchering scales.
This is your OnlyFans?
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just you playing saxophone?
People take pity on me. They're like, you know what? He might get it there someday. So we need to make sure he keeps getting his lessons.
Andrew, can there be a second tier where you play saxophone poorly, but you are not wearing a shirt?
Oh yes, certainly. I mean, the OnlyFans is definitely present. I don't need to be wearing shoes either, if that's necessary. I could shave my body hair or grow it out. There's a lot to work with there, so just shoot me an email. Shoot Dylan an email at the Wadfam Chalkpot about your sexual preferences for me.
Great, I will forward those on.
Oh my goodness.
So, yeah, the episode begins with Eugene alone in a room shaving his mustache.
It is hilarious how little time it takes for him to shave it.
Right, well, I mean, he gets all of Blackguard.
Yeah.
He gets 11 episodes.
Presumably like 2 weeks. He didn't really grow it out for that long. Okay, maybe my sense of humor makes less sense.
What? No. What? Your sense of humor makes less sense. What are you saying?
Well, I think it's funny that it's the whole bit that it's a tiny mustache and it took him no time to shave it off.
Yeah, and it also, it didn't take long. Like, it's weird that, especially doing this show in the manner that we are, but, like, Katrina just left, and now she's returning, and even if you were listening straight through on albums, you would have basically the same experience, where she leaves at the end of one album, she's gone for a whole album, and then she arrives at the beginning of the next.
Yeah, she just took a little break.
Yeah.
She had her semester in Chicago, right?
Yeah, a long enough semester for some stuff to go down, though.
Brandon. I think this episode may have dirtied me to Brandon's. I'm related to a Brendan. Very fond of Brendan, but Brandon?
Wow.
There's some
shots fired at
all Brandons.
At former guest of the Andrew Sabo podcast, Brandon Miller.
Yeah, no, it's true. He's the exception to the rule in my opinion. But yeah, I have a next door neighbor named Brandon, and he's really not a nice dude. So,
well, shouts out to whatever the opposite of shouts out to that Brandon is. If you're a Brandon who listens to our show, I like you.
Yeah.
Even if Andrew doesn't.
And maybe you're the exception to the rule. I don't know. Oh, man. Yeah, so Eugene is shaving his mustache. Doesn't take him long. And then we get a wonderful...
And then he puts on aftershave.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. Then we get the Home Alone bit where he puts on aftershave and screams.
Yep.
which promptly sent me into a little spiral of trying to figure out if this came out before or after Home Alone and whether that was a conscious joke or something.
It was obviously after.
Yeah, it was very much after, and wow.
Yep.
I mean, it was 5 years after. Like, that feels like quite the...
I don't know, man. That's about the Christian culture timeline.
Fair.
5 years behind. Feels about right.
There's going to be a huge resurgence in 80s worship music in the next, 5 years. Boy. Can't wait for that. I mean, actually, if you bring some, Bruce Springsteen saxophones into a church service, I'm only going to be more happy. So,
Well, you heard it here first, folks. We then jump over to Wits End, where Jason is fixing a freezer while Connie flirts with him.
Yeah, it's pretty uncomfortable.
I clocked it so quickly, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot this was a subplot of this episode. And also, there are still people banging the drum for Jason and Connie to get together, to the point that was the April Fool's Day joke that the official Adventures in Odyssey social media pulled this year.
Wow.
Was releasing we're finally doing it, guys. Let Connie be single.
Yeah, please, just the hardest eye roll ever. Or give him somebody different than Jason. Please. She can be single if she wants to be single. If she wants to be in a relationship, that's fine. That's up to Connie. That's up to Katie. Wherever we feel is natural for the character. But
For sure.
I think that she needs to focus on herself and pursue licensure in counseling. Just personal thoughts on where she's headed.
No, personal stake in that at all.
No, not at all. That wouldn't make her wildly more attractive to me or anything.
And so they're chatting it up, and then Connie drips wet ice cream.
Yeah.
Wet. Did I say wet ice cream?
Yeah. Oh yeah. As opposed to dry ice cream.
I mean, So this is a classic debate amongst certain parts of my friends, which is whether or not ice cream is a liquid.
Oh. No, by no means is it a liquid.
I agree.
Yeah.
There are past and future guests who would disagree.
I'm pretty sure scientifically wrong. I'm pretty sure.
But so
it's the state of mass, and Connie describes it as I think saggy or soggy.
I believe that she says the containers of ice cream are getting soggy.
Oh, okay. I thought it was weird. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so there's ice cream dripping on Jason, and he's bonking his head, and there's this whole back and forth thing, and Eugene walks in, and there's this great discussion of whether or not what Eugene has changed.
Yeah.
And Connie can't figure it out, and Jason can't see anything, so he's just throwing out blind suggestions.
New glasses.
There is such an incredible between the writing and the engineering, the space is so well defined here.
It is so good. I don't know if they actually
fantastic
had Jason or
Townsend Coleman.
Yeah, I wanted to say Townsend Coleman, but then I didn't want to be wrong. That would have been real embarrassing.
I know, it would have been the first time.
Yeah, exactly. Well, oh man. But yeah, I wasn't sure if they actually had him record under a desk or something for his lines, because it really does sound like it. It's very clear, and it does the thing that Odyssey loves to do, which is take sitcom television tropes and transfer them into audio mediums.
For sure.
And it makes it
that's this whole episode.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I don't know. At least as a kid, I really liked this episode because it felt kind of like I was getting away with watching something or listening to something more mature than I would otherwise be allowed to.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay.
For
I'm not
sure.
alone on that.
No,
okay.
Not even slightly.
Okay.
It is an interesting thing where I'm just was Odyssey and listening to it from such a young age one of the reasons that I didn't ever have a girls are gross and have cooties phase?
Yeah.
As someone who didn't grow up with sisters,
yeah.
like, I was always very comfortable. And I had a lot of, like, friends growing up who were girls that, like, also
certainly.
contributed to that. But I'm just, like, I'm listening to this just going, like, which came first? Like, what's the order of operations here? How much did, like, Odyssey influence this? Or even, like, I think we've talked about this before, but, like, for so long,
Are you questioning how your personality formed, Dylan?
Yeah, Andrew, for sure. You have some clinical insight?
No, certainly not clinical, but I do think that is interesting, and I was going to make a joke about Freud and the fact that you love your mother so much that you probably look for that in other people.
Sure.
Which is fair.
Yeah, whatever. But the just that thing of the part of the getting away with it was just like I was, and I don't know, right, if this was because of Odyssey or just like Odyssey honed this in or whatever, like who knows, because it's so formative for me. But like I was always a kid who was drawn to like storytelling that dealt with romance.
Oh yeah.
Even though like I was culturally not really allowed to be.
Yeah. No, certainly.
I would read, books that had that as an element and that I was very compelled by that element, but that could never be the reason I was reading a book.
Yeah.
Or like, I wasn't listening to Novacom for Connie and Mitch. I was listening to it for spy stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
But now I'm totally listening to it for Connie and Mitch. And like, that was always true to an extent and like is coming across here. But like one of my really close friends, like one of the early things that he and I bonded over was he was just like very open with the fact that he was like that he found romance in stories compelling. And I was just like, wait,
am I allowed to?
You can just say that out loud and like actually believe that? I thought that was just something that I kind of like, thought about laying in my bed at night, but otherwise like was just a me thing.
Yeah. No, I mean,
so
that makes so much sense though, considering like I don't want to besmirch Todd, but I feel he is probably not the most verbal.
That is the first name of my father.
Yeah.
To be clear.
I don't know. I feel very similar, not in the sense that I'd never felt safe to express it, but I did always feel drawn towards the romance in the story, and I think that it was because of my exposure to so much, female-driven content growing up and everything, and whether that was through Odyssey or through watching Disney princess movies with my sisters or whatever, but there were so many things that it's not cool to like those things growing up and to be the kid on the playground that doesn't watch the shows but can quote Mulan to you from front to back.
Sure. And I to the credit of my father and like my parents growing up and whatnot, like my dad is like, as far as like his taste in like movies and stuff goes, like he is like, he likes genre stuff and he likes like rom-com chick flicky stuff.
Really?
Whereas my mom likes thrillers.
Boy.
Like my mom wants a courtroom drama or like like someone is on the run and has been like wrongfully accused, like a Bourne movie.
Yeah. Whereas
Whereas my dad is like,
When
give
Harry
me a
Met
Mad
Sally.
Max or give me a Jerry Maguire. Like,
oh man, that wow, my preconceived notions of your parents just exploded. I love that for Todd though. I just imagine him cuddled up with some ice cream after a long day of construction.
correct.
Yeah. Oh man.
But yeah. Anyways,
We contain multitudes.
back to the episode at hand. We find out that with the mustache thing, they finally figure out that it's the mustache, as that's what changed.
Yeah.
And then Connie's like, oh, of course, you got rid of the mustache because Katrina's coming back this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And so
this is when Jason drops the titular, sounds like love is in the air, and he keeps saying it over and over again.
And we get the Eugene and Katrina have been corresponding during the time that she's been gone, and Connie makes like a joke about like secret rendezvous out, in Chicago, and he's like, no, nothing like that. But she is, coming back now, and Connie is the one who immediately, just like, this is an episode where Connie is immature.
Yeah.
And so she immediately jumps to the idea of like, well, now you guys can get back together. Like, you're a Christian now, so it's all gonna work.
Yeah. This is the first time that you're seeing her since you became a Christian. She doesn't go to that conclusion, but she does say what everybody is thinking, I suppose.
Sure.
Yeah. Not great writing for Connie.
And the comments of like, oh, it seems like only yesterday that she left, and it was like two weeks ago for us.
Yeah, it was
like
3 weeks ago.
We only covered one episode that didn't have Katrina in it.
Mm-hmm.
But then in walks Tasha Forbes.
Hi, Jason. Cut to commercial with just that line, and I am a 4-year-old boy again. I wasn't. Not. We don't have time to unpack all of that.
But yeah, her voice is. It's such a different energy from everyone else in the show.
Yeah.
But it's so good, and
gosh.
Tasha rules. My note is just Tasha, all caps, 3 exclamation points. And then like we have this exchange, and I'm just like, man, all of these voice actors are so good, have such great chemistry. Like, the show has really hit a peak when it comes to like having all of these characters floating around and being able to throw them together in new and unexpected ways and just have it sing.
Yeah.
And he kind of does like the
catching up, like, oh, what brings you to town? And she's like, well, you, of course, you gave me the invitation last time I saw you, and now I finally decided to take you up on it.
Yep. And he's like, he's like, well, here, let me like introduce you to these people. These are my coworkers, Connie and Eugene, which like love him saying coworkers.
Yeah.
Even though like he's the one who signs the paychecks.
Yeah.
But
these are my subordinates.
Yeah.
These are my gremlins.
Like, these are my coworkers, Connie and Eugene.
These are my henchmen.
And then like they stumble through like, how do you guys know each other? And Tasha uses like the classic spy lingo of like, we work together at like a government job where we were analysts.
Boring lab coats and manuals, which fair. Lots of lab coats, lots of manuals, but definitely Connie's not buying it, and Eugene doesn't seem to care.
Right. Connie just immediately dislikes Tasha.
And it's like, so frustrating. It's well acted, but it's so frustrating.
Yep. It's like, we have 2 women in the room who are of similar age. Like, now it's got to now it's got to be a competition. Yeah. Right. Also true.
And like, there's no way that like Connie would be able to perceive that this is a more age appropriate person, even though she's basically an adult. She's not quite there. She's a teenage girl, but still. It's not like a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old having a crush on an adult and then seeing them with their wife and being like, oh God, oh no, what are you doing with this other man or woman?
I mean, look, it's real strong Shiva baby vibes.
Joke that I don't get yet.
That is
I need to get on it.
Watch the movie Shiva Baby, people. There's my plug. Yeah. You're getting it early
Alyssa watched it and loved it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've talked about it, but it is a social horror movie.
Yeah.
And it is incredible.
Those words together mean exactly what you think it means.
Right. It is just anxiety. There is no gore. There is no true like horror movie stuff, but it plays like a horror movie, all about like people interacting with each other.
Lovely.
And yeah. It's really good. I like Shiva Baby quite a bit, but that's not the point here. The point is that I don't like the we've got two women, they got to be
Yeah,
in competition,
exactly.
especially because the idea of Connie having a crush on Jason has not existed until now.
Oh. Really? Interesting.
My recollection is that this, and the way this episode plays, I think it is literally set up in this episode.
Oh. Okay. Maybe this is the episode that is set up. Okay.
Maybe
find out.
not, but like, so I didn't remember that was ever a thing. And listening to this episode, the way it plays at the beginning, where Connie is so like visibly flirting, and then Eugene has a side conversation about it, and what like the way it's set up really does feel like they're setting it up for the first time. If it's been woven in before now, let us know, and
I think we maybe covered it when we did Blackguard, because I feel like there might be something in there.
Interesting. I
But
mean,
maybe not.
Yeah, sound off if you're Team Andrew or Team Dylan on this. But like, I clocked this as the first.
Certainly.
As the first appearance.
No,
of,
well,
like,
and it does
just
make
something
sense.
that's just being set up.
Yeah.
And so it just felt like, oh, we introduced this element so that these two people, so that there would be like
A
tension in this
contrived
episode.
conflict, yeah.
And it's,
Bad.
Yeah, not my favorite.
Yeah, and Connie's and she spends like not the rest of the episode, but most of it just being needlessly peeved at Tasha and having a bad attitude about it all.
Yep.
She, takes a brief break from it to poke her nose into other people's business because that's what women do with their intuition. Yeah, I don't know. I love this episode. I don't want that to get, I don't want the baby to get tossed out in the bathwater, but I feel like I have to give
I don't like
voice.
babies or bathwater, so just get rid of them both. I'm fine with that.
Yeah. All right, sounds good. Dylan is an adult shower man.
Absolutely.
Oh, shower man is my favorite superhero.
I don't even know when the last time I took a bath was.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that I could tell you off the top of my head, but I'm sure it was at my parents'. I like taking them. Ice baths are nice.
Sure. I'm just like, it's more than 10 years.
Wow.
Like not more than 15 years. Like it's been.
You've never taken like a leisure bath?
No, like I don't know that I have taken a bath since I started showering.
Okay. Wow.
Maybe once.
Yeah, no, I'm
just to try it on for size.
It's worse as far as cleaning yourself is concerned.
Sure.
It's much less efficient.
Yeah. I also live in a house that only has a shower. So.
Yeah. I mean, that's the position that I'm in now, but before I definitely had access to a tub and I took advantage of it.
I mean, look, good for you.
I don't know. Maybe it's not. Maybe if I hadn't sat down in the shower so much, I wouldn't have pots.
Sure, Andrew. That's the reason.
That's it. Totally not the caffeine abuse.
So
that being said, back to love triangles.
So Jason and Tasha exit, and Connie makes some comment to Eugene where she's just like, "Oh, can you believe this? Like, she's not even Jason's type." And Gene's like, "Do I sense some jealousy there, Miss Kendall?" And that's the whole scene.
Yeah, no, it is. Well, and so Connie gets really frustrated and like flustered and doesn't really respond. She's like, "What?" Flustrated, my favorite word. Yeah, she doesn't know how to respond to Eugene, and she initially denies it, and then she's like, "Well, how could you possibly?" And then she just kind of storms out of breath, which is funny, and also, yeah, it goes to show the really hokey kind of contrived. We don't actually want to hear what this person has to say. We want to have them be the butt of the joke, and we want to have them function in a very specific way within the context of the episode.
Yep. And so, yeah, and then we get the conversation between Tasha and Jason, which just establishes, like, Donovan has retired.
Yeah.
Tasha's kind of looking for the next thing. She decided to, like, find, like, she's not really into the agency with Donovan gone, with Jason gone. She decided to take him up on his offer to, come
Come
see
visit.
Odyssey.
Yeah.
And so Jason's like, all right, well, I'll call Jack. Like, let's go out on the town. Like, we're just gonna,
Go to the zoo.
Yeah, they wind up going to the Connellsville Zoo. More on that later.
Add it to the map.
Then we've got Eugene working on the freezer now, and he gets it figured out. And then Jack walks in and sees the mustache.
Mm-hmm. And recognizes it immediately.
Oh, yeah. No, I love Jack.
Uh-huh, right? It was so sweet.
Yep.
And he's like, he's aware that Katrina's coming back, but he's not prying about it, but he's just saying like, oh, does this have anything to do with Katrina coming back into town?
Yep.
And yeah, gotta love Jack.
Yep.
And the whole I'm just so confused bit is so wonderful.
Yeah, so Eugene like warns Jack about Connie's mood and like starts to explain why, and then Connie walks in and he has to like change subjects, and then Eugene exits to go work on something in the radio booth, and then Connie and Jack are talking, and Connie's like, what was Eugene saying? And Jack was like, I don't know, something about something, like, and then Connie's like, he was probably talking about like either Tasha or Katrina, because Tasha's here and Katrina's getting back, and yada yada.
Those are the only two possible things he could be
right.
talking
She was
about.
like, I knew he shaved his mustache because of Katrina. That's just a woman's intuition.
Yeah.
And Jack's like, I don't know. I put two together as well.
Yeah.
Like, think anybody
he
could.
grew it out when she left, and he shaved it when she came back. Like,
Yeah. What is the woman's intuition thing they're doing here?
I don't know. I feel like it's got to be a vestige of like stand-up comedy, or not stand-up comedy, but more like
Sitcom?
yeah, sitcom, like family sitcom stuff from like the 70s and 80s of like the sassy housewife like, oh, I'm right because I'm a woman, so I just know. And so you get the whole like, oh, the husband's a goof or whatever.
Sure.
That whole bit of it, because it definitely was something like feminine intuition was something that was very largely on my radar as like probably a 1 through 7 year old. I don't know.
Nothing was on
Culturally.
my radar as a 1-year-old.
Yeah, that's fair.
So then Connie goes and joins Eugene in the booth, and Eugene's like listening back to a thing with Jack, and Connie walks in and she's like, oh, I thought Jack might be with you. Or I said Jack. Connie walks in to Kids Radio, and Eugene's working on a production that Jason is doing, and Connie's like, oh, I thought Jason might actually be in here with you, and Eugene's like, no, she's like out on the town he went out with Tasha.
Yeah.
And Connie's just like, man, Jason's so good at like reading the Bible, isn't he? And Eugene's like, it was like his 14th take.
Yeah, he said like after 6 tries, yeah. Which there is some fun inside baseball jokes this episode, especially later with the hugging bit, right? Where they're talking about like practicing hugs, and like, why would you be practicing a hug for a radio drama?
Yep.
Gotta love it.
You really do. And so, they're discussing, Connie brings to light the fact that Eugene's probably stressing about how to greet Katrina, and suggests, a hug rather than like a handshake or, a kissing on the cheek, like go with a hug, which,
oh yeah,
totally reasonable.
Yeah, no,
usually my move.
Why would you go to a handshake?
If I have not seen someone in a while, almost always a hug, unless it's like a more professional relationship, in which case it's a handshake.
Yeah.
Or right. I mean, I guess depending on
fist bump
on how close I am with someone, it might not be a hug, but
yeah,
be a wave or whatever. But yeah,
circumstances definitely play into the level of affection you're allowed to show.
Here's the thing: if I had never hugged that person before, I would not hug them upon greeting them.
Oh, certainly. No, that's not the time to break the touch barrier.
Correct.
That's not it.
Yep. But we can assume that they've maybe hugged before. I don't know. It's unclear.
Didn't they hug when they gave each other Christmas presents?
I feel like they had to have.
I thought we heard it.
We might have heard it.
I don't know.
And so, then we've got, so Connie's like showing Eugene how to hug, like the proper amount.
Yeah.
And then Katrina walks in.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's set up with the whole, like, oh, there's a proper hug, there's an improper hug. Eugene is being a boy, and so clearly he doesn't know the difference between levels of physical pressure or whatever. I don't know. And then Katrina walks in, clearly flustered, and they're all very embarrassed. Katrina turns around, walks out, and Eugene storms off after her.
Mm-hmm. You know it. And, yeah, so... Then we have the high drama, like, sitcom scene.
Yeah, this is when the ice cream hits the fan.
Oh, you couldn't have put it better myself.
Thanks, buddy.
So there's this scene where everyone is in the room together.
Yeah.
It's Eugene, it's Katrina, it's Connie, it's Jack, it's Tasha, it's Jason.
Yeah.
And they're just going off about Eugene trying to explain to Katrina that, like, that hug didn't mean anything. It was just between friends. And Katrina's like, yeah, whatever. You sure you want to do this, like, right here, right now?
Yeah.
And Eugene just keeps getting more and more flustered. And is like, no, we have to do this now and whatever. And then somehow it all culminates in him saying that Connie has a crush on Jason.
Yeah, no, so he's like, well, no, clearly, if I was in your shoes and I saw you doing that, I would have felt a certain type of way. Love projection. I mean, it's also called empathy, but, you know, it's a fine line to walk. Yeah, so he's projecting his potential insecurities about the situation onto her, and she's repeatedly just sitting there being like, no, I mean, I'm an adult. I didn't think anything of it. It was embarrassing. Right. I thought it was awkward, but I didn't think anything of it. And he's like, well, yeah, of course, it did, it couldn't have meant anything because Connie has a crush on Jason. And then there's a gasp, and Jack goes, way to go, Eugene, or you really did it, or something like that.
I love so much that is the first moment in which it's verbalized in this episode.
Yeah.
The crush.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Eugene was going to say something earlier and he gets cut off, but otherwise it's just kind of been like simmering, bubbling under the surface.
Yeah.
And so when Eugene outbursts that, it's like, oh yeah, he's been, like, he made the realization this morning and it's been driving him crazy. How many times have I been in those same shoes? Yeah. Where it's just like, oh, I just put pieces together and I now have to tell someone. And what I do in my life, because I try and be a decent person, is I just text people when I hit that point.
Oh, yeah.
But this is prior to that being an option.
No.
So he can't get it out unless he sees someone, and he just finally is like, look, it's just slipping out here.
Yeah.
And Connie is understandably hurt. And then the
Katrina leaves.
Yeah.
And she says that she's staying at some dorm person's house.
Melanie's dorm.
Melonie's dorm. That's my favorite bar.
Not a bad bar name, honestly.
No.
I'd go to that bar.
Yeah, right?
And then we have... and then Jason and Tasha leave as well. And Connie leaves, and it's just like Eugene and Jack, and that's where Jack's like, good job, Eugene.
Yep. You really did it, didn't you?
And then we jump to the Connellsville Zoo, which has where both Katrina, my word, both Jason and Tasha are.
Yeah.
And my first note was just like, what do we think's at the Connellsville Zoo?
So I'm guessing like a Zoo America type situation where we have a lot of regional animals that are appropriate, but it does sound like there is a lot of not regional animals, such as elephants and
hippos are both referenced, and there are very clearly monkeys in the background, which just really, like, because my first note too was like, it's the Connellsville Zoo, it's got to be like there's like two animals here, and then it's like, nope, it is a proper zoo.
Either that or it is the exact opposite, where they have all the animals, it's not a proper zoo, and they're in like way too small of cages, like a Tiger King situation.
I mean, not a bad, yeah. Hey, you guys remember COVID when everyone watched Tiger King?
Yeah, we all collectively watched some southern gay man abuse a bunch of animals together.
Yeah. And we thought he was the hero of that story?
I mean, don't say we, white man, but...
You weren't part of the team. This guy's the good guy?
Oh, no. No, certainly not. I don't think there's a good person to be found in any of that.
Well, for sure. But everyone was like, go Tiger King,
Boo Carol Baskins.
Correct,
Yeah, sure.
of course.
I was anti both.
Wow. Andrew woke since day one.
Sure.
I did not partake in any of the Tiger King.
Proud of you.
So we have this exchange with Jason and Tasha, where Jason makes some comment about like, oh man, crazy what Connie just did back there. And Tasha's like, I don't know, I get it.
Yeah.
Like, or he said, his comment is more like, Eugene said that, I don't think I actually believe this. And Tasha's like, no, you probably should. Like,
no, I see it. Yeah.
She's stuck here in Odyssey. You're a man who's been all over the world. Like, of course she's drawn to you. And then, Jason's very much like, were you ever drawn to me? And she's like, oh, we doing this? We doing this? Like, are you ready for this conversation, Jason?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah. And she's like, well, when you first showed up, I was interested. And he's like, and now? And she's like, all right, Jason, I'm gonna lay it all out here. Like, I love you. Always have, probably always will.
Wow. Just wow. The huevos.
She sells it so
she does
well.
such a good job.
Like, yeah, Kirsty Nimmon's just doing like a fantastic performance.
Yeah.
But yeah. And it helps that we had 2 episodes previously that really established their chemistry. And I mean, they're both killing it in this thing.
Yeah.
And Jason's like, yeah, okay. Like, me too, Tasha.
Yeah.
Like, I'm with you. So I think that there's only really one thing that makes sense here. Will you marry me?
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot that. That was... I don't even know. It just took the words right out of my mouth and the seat right out from underneath me. I was on the floor. My notes are all caps. Excuse me, how did I forget that?
I mean, look, it's ridiculous to some degree, but it also
makes sense.
Yeah,
a little bit?
like I get the like being of a certain age and being like, we've known each other for a long time. Yeah. This is like something that we've both danced around for a while. If we're both going to like come out and say it right now, then like maybe we skip the dating and just go to being engaged, which I don't think I would ever recommend, but it doesn't seem like it's not the craziest swing that this show has ever taken.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and it could have it would have been absurd if Eugene did that with Katrina.
Right.
These are 2 adults that are at the twilight levels of their spying career, and they're looking to settle down in a nice little plot of land somewhere and make some babies.
Yep.
And so yeah, they're kind of able to view their life.
And they'd be good-looking babies, given the sounds of these 2 people's voices.
Yeah. At least very nice sounding babies. Like those cries would be whimsical. Are they crying in harmony?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he says, yeah, and then that's
we go from that scene where my heart is aflutter and I'm just like, oh, what's next? I love these people, to a scene that is just like
brutal.
The bummer of all bummers. They meet at the mall food court and just immediately the vibes are off. They don't get to go to their normal table. They sit down. They're just talking in a way where they are clearly on different pages. Yeah. Eugene is making all these assumptions and is kind of like, in a way that's not at all relatable to me, is kind of like, well, like the thing that was like the big barrier between us isn't here anymore, so we should just be able to do this thing now, right? Like, there was one thing that we needed to overcome to date, and we overcame. So now we should just do it.
Yeah?
And Katrina is not having it.
No.
And Eugene's just like reiterating his apology about the earlier thing, and he's just like, didn't you feel jealous? And she's like, no. And he's like, but I want you to feel jealous. Like,
Yeah.
I would have felt jealous if I had seen the opposite happen. Like, yeah. And so he's like, well, look, can we just, like, do this thing?
Yeah, Eugene asks, like, how are things going to work out for us?
Right. And they have, similar to the conversation we just witnessed, like, they have the kind of define the relationship moment. And it
goes
just
the
goes
other way.
right. And it's, yeah. And Katrina's just like, I don't know what you mean. Like, I'm still in college. Like, I've still got this next thing. I am, I've, heard from, there's, what did she say? Brandon said, like, it's not necessarily good for two young Christians to date, which I also, like, I get to an extent. I think, with proper guidance and rails and whatnot, that can be really beautiful, but I also, like, see the stress that can put on it. And I will say I am more sympathetic to that statement before we find out who Brandon is. Afterwards, it feels a little bit like, is this man just, like, shutting down the competition?
Yeah, exactly. No, that's what it reads to me, which is so annoying.
Yeah. And right, she talks, and you
kind
just,
of
like,
groomy too, because, like, he's the
yeah.
head of the Christian fellowship, and she's new on campus and all
Yep.
that, which is fine and whatever. But
and they're doing Bible studies together, and Eugene's like, with other people, and she's like, nope, just one-on-one. Well, he's like, so what are you saying? And he's like, are you guys? And she's like, yeah, we're dating, Eugene.
Oh man, the amount of subtext and weight that is held in such, like, plain words of, like, Bible study and dating. Like, these are normal things, but because we've been with these characters for so long, the weight of Eugene's experience of what Katrina is saying is conveyed really well, and it's kind of hilarious, at least to me, because coming from the perspective that I have, all I'm seeing is like, oh yeah, they did Bible study with each other. Like, wow, it's really romantic. You studied an ancient piece of scripture together. That's nice. Not to say that I haven't done that, but
I was gonna say, Andrew, you're making this sound terrible, but in my experience, like,
it's very nice.
A great way to grow closer with people.
Yeah,
period.
In general, is to do a Bible study.
Yeah, or just like or a book club or a movie club or whatever. Like, but that kind of like, hey, we're poring over the same thing together, and then we're talking about it.
Yeah. No, that is
and then you add the extra level of, and we believe that this, like, points to a greater truth that, like, is the foundation of, like, how we see the world. It's like, yeah, of course that's gonna be a thing.
Yeah, certainly.
But also,
it is kind of funny.
A one-on-one Bible study is not a thing. Like, a one-on-one Bible study in this context, like,
that's a date.
That's a date.
That's a date where you talk about the Bible.
And she gets to it, like, she's
date.
really drawing it out. But it's like she mentions Brandon, and then she mentions that he's, like, a leader at the school group she's part of. And then she mentions that they're in a Bible study together. And then she mentions that Bible study is just the two of them, and then she says they're dating.
Yeah.
In a way that, like, only works for the dramatic tension of this episode. And if Katrina actually felt the way she did, I don't think she would play it this way.
No, certainly not. No, because she spent the beginning of the episode being like, I'm an adult, I wasn't worried about this. Like, the adult thing to do is to recognize that Eugene is clearly operating under different pretenses and catch him up to speed as quickly as possible.
Yeah. And maybe there is a nervousness about wanting to let Eugene down easily.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because Eugene is not doing what I would do in this circumstance, which is barely let any of my actual feelings show and test the waters in a way that is really easy to walk back.
Yeah.
AKA the Dylan Weaver philosophy for dating, which has gotten me so far in life. But yeah, for Eugene is not doing that. He's jumping in with both feet.
Yeah.
And just kind of assuming it's a foregone conclusion, and and committing to it as such. Whereas I, even if I do assume as a foregone conclusion, am not that bold.
No, certainly.
Because I always want to be able to salvage it and make myself look fine and feel fine afterwards, even if it sucks.
Yeah, no, I mean, you can't avoid heartbreak with love, unfortunately.
I mean, I'm doing great so far, Andrew.
Oh, man.
No restless nights here thinking about the ways I've screwed up romantically.
Hey, same though. I don't think that that's just unique to being outside of a relationship. Yeah, so, yeah, then that's the end of the episode. Like, the episode ends with Katrina confessing that she's dating Brandon. And then Chris is like, wow, what's happening? What's going to happen next? Stay tuned for part 2. But boy, howdy. Yeah, it ends on a cliffhanger. What a great episode. I mean, I've voiced my frustrations about Connie, but I think that is more than outweighed by Jack being confused and Tasha being hot. So
sure, yeah. Right. The worst part of this episode is the Connie Tasha stuff.
Yeah,
everything else works for me pretty well.
Yeah, and it flows well. It makes sense, and yeah, even the big swings of having Jason propose, like what? That's so uncharacteristic of him. Yeah, I feel like it lands well because of all the work that they've done with these characters beforehand, and it actually works.
And great performances.
Yeah, stellar performances. I mean, I wonder if the actors were happy to be doing something a little bit more lighthearted after all that serious
I imagine
stuff.
These things are fun to record.
Yeah, so it definitely comes across, and I enjoyed this episode, and I started the episode, and I was like, oh god, yeah, Connie's bad. Is this episode going to be ruined for me? And I was really worried, and there's still a lot that I really enjoy. So I'm looking forward to part 2, and if I was able to forget that Jason proposes to Tasha, I have no clue what's going to happen next.
Yeah. I don't know what else to say, so I think we're gonna wrap it there. Andrew, anything you'd like to plug?
John Mulaney put out a new special recently. What is it, Baby J?
It is Baby J.
Yeah,
came out a week ago, as of when this episode will air, which is wild.
Yeah,
we don't have a buffer right now, guys. It's a problem.
I'm sorry, but does it make you feel closer to us? Genuine question. Yeah, so definitely would recommend. Watched it last night. It's a wide-ranging conversation, as is listed in the title. So if you are particularly sensitive to cocaine recovery stories, I would avoid. But other than that, it is a smashing good time. Snorting good time, if you will.
Wow, there you go. I am going to plug, I guess... Have we talked about Cha Cha Real Smooth on the podcast?
I don't know that we have.
So I'm going to plug Cha Cha Real Smooth because when I'm thinking of just
love.
Of love. When I'm thinking of something that deals with like relationships that I've seen recently that just rules. Cha Cha Real Smooth, Apple TV Plus, came out last year. It was a Sundance movie picked up by Apple. It is really, really good. Just like relational comedy drama.
Yeah, coming of age.
As an adult.
Yeah.
It really works. I love it. And it's a movie I think about quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I also mentioned Shiva Baby earlier on in this episode, so that link will be down in the show notes as well. If you want something with an entirely different vibe.
Yeah, I was going to say, we are really hitting all different corners.
Look, they are both movies set...
Period.
I mean, look, they're both movies. No, they are both movies set in New York City with Jewish characters.
True.
Who are in similar age ranges. It's just one is a horror movie set at like a funeral or a wake, a shiva.
A shiva, if you will.
And the other is set at a bunch of bar and bat mitzvahs.
Yeah. God bless.
And is fun. I mean, it's dark.
It has its moments.
But it's really fun.
Yeah.
And it's a movie that, like, even though
more people need to see it.
Even though it has, like, some tough moments, it leaves you smiling.
Yeah. It's, I don't know if you've seen Captain Fantastic, listener, but it does kind of strike a similar chord to me as that movie, in that it does the life is hard, but also life is funny at the same time thing pretty well.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. That's all.
That's all I got.
That's all I've got. So
we...
we'll see you next week for episode 336, Love is in the Air, Part 2.
Bye, guys.
Bye.